Stranger Things is officially over. A cult phenomenon that has been in our lives for 9 years. Perhaps the last TV event we will see in a long time. This was a show where everyone was talking. Fan theories everywhere, predictions, merch in every shop that you walked into. I genuinely can't think of many shows right now that reach this level of cultural impact. So, this is my review of Stranger Things Season 5 series finale, and caution, there are spoilers ahead. Let's go. Before we start, these are just my opinions. I'm not here to break down every Easter egg and detail within the show. There are creators who do that brilliantly on YouTube and TikTok, those sort of platforms. This is just how I felt about this season, but please leave your thoughts in the comments, even if you completely disagree. There's so much to talk about, but I'll try and keep this fairly compact, otherwise, we could genuinely be here all day. I've been invested in Stranger Things since season one, and I truly hadn't seen anything like this at the time. Season one felt small, grounded, and mysterious. It was part detective story, part sci fi, part horror, but also deeply human. It dealt with friendship, loss, trauma, family, and love. The characters felt real, and the supernatural elements felt believable within that world. That balance is what made people fall in love with this show. It was compact, focused, and intimate in a way. Fast forward 9 years, and here we are at season 5. Unlike Netflix's usual binge everything at once approach, season 5 was released in three separate volumes, which massively built anticipation. Content flooded in, theories everywhere, expectations skyrocketed. And that's where I think the show may have become a victim of its own success. When expectations get that high, disappointment becomes almost unavoidable. But by the end of this season, I have to say, I felt a little bit underwhelmed. Starting with Volume 1, I actually didn't think Volume 1 was bad at all. There was intrigue, tension, a sense that something big was coming. The high style storytelling worked really well here, and the show rarely sat still. There was always this feeling that time was running out. The long gap between seasons made it harder to ignore how much the cast had grown up, and at times it briefly pulled me out of the high school setting. Still, the Demogorgons tearing through portals looked great. They genuinely felt like a threat again until it comes to the main characters. Lucas, the Wheelers, coming face to face with them and coming out better than most. And then that ending. Will gaining powers and fully stepping into this Will the Wise role was something I genuinely didn't see coming. It was a strong cliffhanger and got everyone talking, eagerly waiting for the next release. Volume 2 for me is where the pacing started to struggle. There was a lot of talking, planning, and emotional processing, which isn't bad in itself, but it started to feel like there was so much left to resolve and only a limited amount of time left to do it. And just quickly, I wanted to talk about the Upside Down. In earlier seasons, this place was terrifying. It felt hostile, unpredictable, and dangerous. But this season, it felt strangely empty, almost safe. You could argue that the military cleaned it out, but that was never really explained. Characters seemed far too comfortable there compared to previous seasons, and that sense of dread was largely gone. At the end of Volume 2, there was no Demogorgons, there was no Bat Things, they all sort of just disappeared. But the best reveal from this part of the series was that the Upside Down was a gateway or a wormhole to the abyss or the other world. Beyond the Upside Down was the vacuum of space waiting to suck everything out of existence. It was brilliant to look at visually, but this definitely was one of the best parts about this season and this volume. By the time we reached volume 3, it really hit me that this show is no longer a grounded sci fi mystery it once was. This was full on blockbuster television. Avengers level action, massive CGI sequences, and a fully assembled hero team. But to be fair, the CGI was genuinely impressive. The reveal that Vecna wasn't the true mastermind and that the Mind Flayer was the real force behind everything was interesting in theory, but in execution, it didn't quite land for me, and it all kind of felt like it happened so quickly. We finally get to see the Mind Flayer in the flesh. It looked brilliant and terrifying, but its appearance was brief, as it was taken down surprisingly easily. After being the driving force behind 5 seasons of horror, possession, and destruction, I expected a much bigger payoff, something more earned. Instead, it felt like it was a bit too convenient. Visually, it looked amazing. Cinematically, it worked. Emotionally, I was left wanting more. One of the biggest issues that I had with the finale is that the stakes never truly felt high. At no point did I feel like the characters were genuinely outmatched or in real danger. It felt like plot armor was firmly in place. I'm not saying that characters needed to die, but when the threat is the literal merging of worlds, it should feel desperate. But it didn't. Even the military felt like more of an obstacle than an integral part of the story. Their presence never really paid off, and there were seemingly no consequences for anything that happened involving them. The closing character moments was where the finale worked best. Joyce finishing Vecna while we see flashes of everything the characters endured over the last 5 seasons was genuinely powerful. You're reminded just how much trauma and horror these kids lived through. Dustin's speech was excellent, easily one of the standout moments, and I can tell you now, Steve and Co are not meeting up monthly. That stuff is nearly impossible once you're all grown adults, as time just kind of takes over, work and other responsibilities hit you like a ton of bricks, which makes it kind of sad, really. Eleven's ending, leaving it unclear if she lived or died, was a good way for our story to end. She has been such an integral part of the story, of the series. I don't think fans would have been fully satisfied either way. Overall, I didn't hate the ending. I just didn't find it fully satisfying given the build up. Everything worked out a little bit too neatly. Like, there wasn't enough suspense, enough danger, or enough unpredictability, especially considering Vecna's plan was largely succeeding. Some people will love this ending, some people won't. For me, season one will always be peak Stranger Things, but I'm still grateful for the journey, the characters, and the impact this show had on so many of us. And most importantly, I don't feel the same bitterness I felt after Game of Thrones. And so honestly, I'll take that as a win. These are my ratings for Stranger Things. I always like to leave a line on how I would describe what I watched. And Stranger Things is a cultural phenomenon, exactly what I explained at the beginning of this video. I score the series an 8 out of 10. The show has largely been successful and gave us great TV. Season 3 and 5 perhaps being the weaker seasons, but I've loved the series nonetheless. I gave season 5 a 6 out of 10. Not because it was bad, but because it never quite lived up to what it was building towards. It looked incredible, the characters were handled with care, and there were strong emotional moments, but for a final season about the end of the world, it played things too safe. The tension was low, the stakes never truly landed, and too many ideas was introduced without fully paying off. Honorable mentions. Firstly, the soundtrack. The soundtrack is truly iconic. Whenever you hear it, you get goosebumps. It screams Stranger Things. I definitely need to add it to my playlist. It's something I haven't done yet, but I'll be going for it soon and listening to the entire series soundtrack. The cast, 10 out of 10. You literally could not picture anyone else playing these characters. They was wonderfully cast. We've watched majority of these grow from kids to adults now, and I wish them all the success and best of luck to them. If you've watched the video, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the time of day. This is my first big video like this, and I'm going to keep trying to push more content out there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you loved the ending or disliked it. And finally, happy new year. I wish you a happy new year and all the best. Take care. Thank you for your time. See you later.